Good evening and welcome to our broadcast. Tonight we delve into a significant and often contentious issue. Should schools have the right to search student lockers? It's a debate that pits the undeniable need for school safety against the fundamental privacy rights of students. Joining us to discuss this are Mr. David Evans, a former school principal who supports locker searches, and Ms. Sarah Chen, a lawyer specializing in youth rights, who argues against them. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. It's a privilege to be here to discuss this critical matter. My stance is clear. Schools must possess the authority to search student lockers to ensure the safety and security of everyone on campus, students, teachers, and staff alike. The primary argument is one of proactive safety. The knowledge that lockers can be searched serves as a powerful deterrent, discouraging students from bringing prohibited items such as drugs, weapons, or other dangerous contraband onto school grounds. This isn't about a desire to pry. It's about preventing potential tragedies and maintaining an environment where learning can flourish without fear. Secondly, it's important to remember that lockers are school property. They are assigned to students for their convenience, but the school retains ownership and, consequently, the right to inspect them. This means students have a diminished expectation of privacy concerning their lockers compared to their homes or personal belongings carried on their person outside of school. Furthermore, maintaining a disciplined and orderly learning environment is paramount. Locker searches can be an essential tool in upholding school rules and regulations, addressing issues like theft or the storage of items that disrupt the educational process. While I understand and respect concerns about student privacy, I firmly believe that in the specific context of school lockers, the collective well-being and safety of the entire school community must take precedence. It is a necessary measure to protect all students.
Thank you, Ms. Reed and Mr. Evans. I appreciate the opportunity to present a different perspective. While safety is undeniably crucial, we must not achieve it by sacrificing the fundamental rights of our students. My core argument is that students, like all individuals, possess privacy rights that deserve protection, even when they walk through the school gates. In many jurisdictions, constitutional protections, such as the Fourth Amendment in the United States, guard against unreasonable searches and seizures. These protections should and do extend to students, albeit with some modifications for the school environment. Allowing schools to conduct indiscriminate or suspicionless locker searches opens the door to potential abuse. There's a genuine risk of profiling and discrimination, where certain groups of students might be unfairly targeted based on appearance, reputation, or other arbitrary factors, rather than on any concrete evidence of wrongdoing. Moreover, such practices can breed an atmosphere of mistrust and antagonism between students and school authorities. When students feel constantly under suspicion, it erodes the positive school climate necessary for learning and personal development, potentially damaging vital student-teacher relationships. I believe that less intrusive, more targeted measures, based on individualized reasonable suspicion, are far more effective and appropriate for ensuring school safety while respecting the dignity and rights of young people.
Ms. Chen raises important points about privacy, and I acknowledge the theoretical concerns. However, the legal precedent in many areas supports the view that the expectation of privacy in a school locker is significantly reduced precisely because it is school property, provided for a specific, limited purpose. The primary purpose of the school is education within a safe environment, and locker searches directly support this mission when items that compromise safety are a concern. Regarding the potential for abuse or profiling, this is a challenge that can be addressed. Clear, objective, and consistently applied policies, coupled with thorough training for staff on how to conduct searches fairly and respectfully, are essential safeguards. These protocols can significantly mitigate the risks of discrimination or unfair targeting. And while targeted interventions are useful, we must also value proactive measures. Waiting for concrete suspicion in every instance might mean we are acting too late, potentially allowing a dangerous situation to escalate. The deterrent effect of knowing searches can happen is invaluable.
Mr. Evans emphasizes safety, and I concur with its importance. However, the assertion that widespread suspicionless searches are an effective means to achieve this safety is debatable. Often, such measures amount to security theater. They create an illusion of safety without substantially contributing to it. Targeted interventions, based on credible information or reasonable suspicion, are not only more respectful of rights, but also more efficient in identifying genuine threats. Regarding the quote, school property argument, while the physical locker belongs to the school, the contents placed inside by students are their personal belongings. Students have a legitimate expectation that their personal effects will not be arbitrarily searched. This distinction is crucial. The negative impact on the school environment cannot be overstated. When students perceive that their privacy can be invaded without just cause, it creates a chilling effect on their sense of security and freedom within the school, undermining the very trust that is essential for a healthy learning community. We must ask if the perceived benefits outweigh these significant harms.
Mr. Evans, Ms. Chen has raised a pertinent point about the potential for bias and profiling in locker search policies. From your extensive experience as a school principal, how can schools practically implement these searches while ensuring fairness and preventing any form of discrimination against specific student groups?
That's a critical consideration, Ms. Reed. The key lies in establishing and rigorously adhering to a well-defined, transparent policy. This policy should outline the specific circumstances under which searches can be conducted. For example, random searches of a selection of lockers, or all lockers in a specific area if there's a general threat, but never targeting individuals without cause. Furthermore, searches should ideally be conducted by at least 2 staff members, and students should be notified that searches are a possibility, perhaps even in the student handbook. Comprehensive training for staff on implicit bias, cultural sensitivity, and de-escalation techniques is also vital to ensure that every search is conducted professionally and equitably. Documentation of all searches is another layer of accountability.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Ms. Chen, if schools were to move away from routine or random locker searches, what specific, effective alternatives would you propose that can genuinely maintain safety and prevent prohibited items from entering school grounds, while still respecting student privacy to a greater degree?
Certainly. Firstly, investing in creating a positive school climate where students feel safe and connected is paramount. Students who trust adults are more likely to report concerns. Secondly, schools can utilize trained counselors and mental health professionals to identify and support students who may be at risk or struggling. Implementing educational programs about the dangers of drugs and weapons, and promoting conflict resolution skills can also be very effective. For direct intervention, focusing on searches based on individualized, reasonable suspicion is the standard we should uphold. This means acting when there are specific facts or observations that would lead a reasonable person to believe a student is violating school rules or the law. Anonymous tip lines, properly managed, can also be a source for such suspicion, provided tips are vetted.
Mr. Evans, you've mentioned clear policies, but many argue, as Ms. Chen does, that searches should only be conducted based on, quote, reasonable suspicion. From your practical experience, how clear-cut is that standard for school administrators to interpret and apply consistently? Could it be effectively implemented as the sole basis for locker searches without compromising safety?
The reasonable suspicion standard is indeed the guiding principle for searching a student's person or their more private belongings. However, it can be somewhat subjective and challenging to apply uniformly, potentially leading to hesitation when quick action is needed. While it's a vital standard, relying on it solely for lockers might mean missing opportunities for deterrence. Sometimes, a broader but still regulated ability to search lockers, which, again, are school property used by students temporarily, can prevent issues before they escalate to the point where individualized suspicion is clearly met. It's about a layered approach. where general deterrence complements targeted intervention.
If I may briefly add, while reasonable suspicion requires careful judgment, it is a well-established legal standard. Training and clear guidelines can enhance its consistent application, ensuring that it doesn't become a barrier to necessary action, but rather a safeguard against arbitrary ones.
An important clarification, thank you. Ms. Chen, considering the severe potential consequences of threats in schools, are there any circumstances, perhaps an imminent, credible threat like a bomb scare or a report of a weapons scene, where you believe a broader search power for lockers, even without particularized suspicion for each student, might be justified for schools in that emergency situation?
That's a very serious scenario, and in situations of truly exigent circumstances, where there is a clear, immediate, and credible threat to the lives or safety of students, the legal landscape does allow for more extensive actions. If authorities have reliable information about a specific, imminent danger, such as a bomb or a firearm on campus, emergency measures, including broader searches, could be deemed necessary and justifiable to neutralize that threat. However, such exceptions must be narrowly defined and strictly controlled to prevent them from becoming a loophole for routine suspicionless searches. The key is the immediacy and severity of the threat. It cannot be a pretext for abandoning rights wholesale. Any such action must still be proportionate to the danger.
And I would agree that in such extreme, life-threatening situations, the normal procedures might need to be expedited or broadened, always with the aim of ensuring student safety above all else, and then returning to established protocols once the immediate crisis has passed. In closing, I want to reiterate that the fundamental responsibility of any school is to provide a safe, secure, and disciplined environment where all students can learn and thrive. This is not merely an aspiration, it is an obligation. Locker searches, conducted under clear, fair, and consistently applied policies, are a vital and necessary tool in fulfilling this obligation. They serve as a significant deterrent against the introduction of dangerous items and help maintain order. It is crucial to remember that lockers remain school property, and while students have a right to privacy, this right is not absolute within the school context, especially when weighed against the collective safety of hundreds, sometimes thousands of individuals. Our goal is not to needlessly intrude upon students' lives, but to proactively protect the entire school community. A balanced approach, one that prioritizes the well-being and safety of all, must allow schools this preventative capability.
To conclude, while the goal of school safety is one we all share unequivocally, the methods used to achieve it must align with our fundamental principles of justice and respect for individual rights. Students' rights to privacy are not privileges to be dismissed at the school gates. I maintain that widespread, suspicionless locker searches carry a significant risk of abuse, can lead to discrimination, and inevitably damage the crucial trust between students and educators, thereby fostering a negative school climate. Effective safety measures are those that are evidence-based, targeted, and respectful of students' constitutional protections. This means relying on individualized suspicion, investing in mental health support, and building a community of trust, where students feel empowered to report concerns. Ultimately, a truly safe school is one where respect for rights and a sense of community are paramount, not one built on constant surveillance and presumed guilt. Let us strive for safety solutions that uphold the dignity of every student.
Thank you, Mr. Evans and Ms. Chen, for your eloquent arguments and for sharing your distinct perspectives on this complex issue. You have certainly given us all a great deal to consider. The debate clearly highlights the ongoing tension between the critical need to ensure our schools are safe havens for learning and the equally important imperative to uphold the privacy rights of our students. We encourage our audience to reflect on the compelling points made tonight. Thank you for joining us. Good evening.